Hey, family. Here again is Lord Eric Steele, aka Big Rossi Love, coming to you again with another episode of FBA All Day, the channel all about justice and understanding for our people. On today's episode, we're going to bring to you another edition from the Skinfolk series. We're going to be focusing on an interesting person who's been putting himself in the forefront. I've been asked about my opinion on him 3 or 4 times, and I'm going to bring some light to it. This guy is a modern day Judas, if you ask me. His name is Jason Hill. He's a professor out at DePaul University. He has authored at least 5 books. The book that brings the most attention is the one included, "What Do White Americans Owe Black People?" Mr. Hill decided to take it upon himself to write a book called "What Do White Americans Owe Black People?" It's a very interesting topic for him to speak on. First of all, he's neither. He's not white. He's not a white American, and he's not what I would consider black. When the dominant society sees him, they consider him black. In his homeland of Jamaica, that's right, homeland, he's not from here. He's an immigrant. In his homeland, he's considered race because it's really tribal over there in Jamaica. There's a lot of tribalisms and colorisms in Jamaica. There's a lot of classisms over there. And that's well documented. That's no news to you. But this particular person becomes really dangerous to us as a people because he's now teaching. As I said, he's a professor. He's a professor on philosophy, and his philosophy is garbage. His conclusions leave us in the most ridiculous positions ever. As a thinking man, not only a black man, but as a thinking man, you have to consider your situations. You have to consider the situations of your people. These things have to be considered when you speak. He has just a broad conception of things. I'll tell you what I mean. First of all, he considers himself a conservative Democrat, which is anybody that understands our political arena over here. That's a contradiction in terms because the conservatives are Republicans. He thinks he's a conservative Democrat. And again, you have to understand these terms. I always tell you guys, make sure you're paying attention to words. That word, conservative, it comes from conserve, which means to protect from harm. Then you have to understand the construct upon which they're using it, which is why I always question people who tell me, oh, I'm a black conservative. I'm like, well, if you're a black conservative, my first question to you would be, what are you conserving? Do you not understand the position our people are in the dominant society? Do you not understand the hierarchy and the position upon which black people are in? We're at the bottom. We're at the bottom of the totem pole. Which then leads to my next logical question is, why are you trying to conserve that position? And you usually find the person who speaks that nonsense is the person who thinks they're something other than black. Hence the term skinfolk. They don't believe they're part of us. They think they've somehow made it out. They think because they were allowed to go to a certain university or they were allowed to achieve certain accolades, they start to look down upon the rest of us. They think they've somehow been elevated out from us, i.e., your Stephen A. Smiths, your Jason Whitlocks. These individuals who achieve certain accolades and different heights within the society, the dominant society, without realizing as soon as those people are done with you, they're done with you. As soon as they're done with you, everything you built can be over in a night. It can be over in a weekend because it was given to you. You were allowed to ascend that way. And if someone gave it to you, common sense should dictate to you someone can take it away. But they don't think like this. And it's very dangerous when we have to defend ourselves from these people within the diaspora. We have to constantly keep an eye on them and the oppressive class, because what the oppressive class will do, they know that if they say certain things out loud, they can be they can be affronted redress. They can have to explain themselves if they do certain things or they say certain things against our people. So what they'll do is they'll get one of these Judases, one of these skinfolk individuals, to spew their nonsense for them. They'll give them a few shillings, they'll give them a few dollars, they'll give them a few pieces of silver, elevate them a little bit, and then give them some points upon which to talk down to us. Oh, look at what about black on black crime? Sheriff Clark out there, he was notorious for that. He'd get his goofy self up on TV and spew nonsense. And what that does, people don't pay it. If you're not paying attention to that, that puts a target on the rest of us when they do that. When you get a black Sheriff Clark going on TV talking about, oh, well, if you can see all the crime in Chicago, you can't judge all of our people by what happens in one city. How does Chicago become the example for all of Black America? How does that happen? They're not even the most heavily populated with black people. There's cities with more black people than Chicago. So how do they by de facto become our example of living? Do you follow what I'm saying? That is a cop out, is what that is. That's him trying to show out for his white wife, trying to show out for his white benefactors that, oh, I'm different. I'm more than these guys. I'm more special than these guys. You'll find a couple commonalities with this type of personality. What you'll find is they'll usually have a white spouse, or they'll usually come from somewhere else. They're usually some sort of an immigrant. They're part Haitian, part Jamaican. They're from Barbados. They're from Africa. They have some link to some other place, which makes them think they're something other than us. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to be considered amongst us. They think they're better than. You have to watch that. We have to watch that, okay? And you'll see it's common. It is very common among skinfolk. It's very common. Mr. Hill is no exception. And he has a couple different instances upon which he chooses to gauge himself better than us. He puts his sexuality before our people, and he also puts his place among us. He thinks that because he's Jamaican, he's something different. He'll say people call him black, but he doesn't say I am black. You see? There's very differences there. And what I'll do is I'll show you the video of his latest interview, and then I'll dissect it. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about him. He is truly he's an intelligent person. I'm not trying to take that from him, but his thoughts are very dangerous for us. Okay, his line of thinking and his conclusions leave our people in very bad places, easily to be manipulated. Okay. I'll let you see the video, and then I'm going to dissect it. And here's the video.
Wrote a book called "What Do White America Owe Black People?" What's wrong with the blacks?
There's no person alive today who's a slave, and there's no person alive today who's a slaveholder. So the whole notion of ancestral guilt is quite evil. I wouldn't want somebody blaming me for a crime that a black man has committed because I share the same ascriptive identity as he does. Most of the whites who are in America today arrived here after the Civil War. The 1964 Civil Rights Act was a reparative moment in American history. It brought blacks into the full pantheon of the human community. That's the reparation that black Americans got, was the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which outlawed racism, made discrimination illegal. There are no rights that whites enjoy today that blacks don't enjoy. I don't know what extra rights and extra privileges one could accord to black people without discriminating adversely against white people.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand how this train of thought, this particular type of person, can be dangerous for our people? He said, no people alive today are slaves. So he doesn't think we should get reparations because there's nobody alive that was slaves today. We shouldn't be thinking about reparations because there's no slaves for the, you know what? He only got over here in 1985. This guy, Jason Hill, is not only is he an immigrant, but he's a recent immigrant. He got over here. He came here. He was already 20 years old when he got here. But here's the kicker. If it was not for our black people fighting for civil rights, if it was not for us fighting for civil rights, he wouldn't even have been allowed to come over here. A lot of these people, they have this grand thought where they have white people on such a high pedestal. They think the dominant society just one day morally came up with the idea, oh, let's allow other black people from around the world to come here. They think that those people just one day woke up and benevolently just was like, oh, by the goodness of our heart, let's just allow more black people to come here from Jamaica, or let's allow black people to come here from Africa. That is not what happened. It was the foundational black Americans whooping ass in the 60s, tearing up this place. We were wrecking havoc. It wasn't nobody walking across the bridge in Georgia that made those people change the laws. That's not what happened. After the day of them fighting on getting their tails whooped on that bridge, the real black people started knocking out them people the next day. They started knocking people out. They started whooping the police's behind in Birmingham. They started knocking down people. They started throwing Molotov cocktails at people. They started bringing it to them. And then the president sent the National Guard down there to stop it because the black people were running over in Birmingham. They were taking over that place. And the president had to send the National Guard down there. It was those black people in Newark tearing up Newark when Martin Luther King died. They destroyed Newark in one night. We were raising hell. We were whooping cops' ass. We were dragging people down the street. We were tearing this place apart. It wasn't no singing kumbaya that got the changes done here. That's not what happened. Let them try to tell you what happened peacefully, but that's not the truth. That's not what happened. Change didn't come until we started tearing up this place. Then they wanted to come to the table. And then they wanted to start writing the Civil Rights Act. And then they started wanting to calm things down because we were tearing them up. We were whooping their behinds. That's what happened. It ain't because people got beat on the bridge. They didn't beat them people on the bridge and then go, oh, we beat them on the bridge. Now let's change the law. That's not what happened. And you would be a moron to think that. John Lewis and them guys on the bridge getting their butts whooped did not make any laws come about. They was just some beat up people sitting in jail. That's all that was. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I'm going to tell you the truth here. We're going to talk about justice for our people here. And the only way we got justice was by bringing it to them. We brought it to them. And then things changed. And this guy wouldn't know that because he was safely in Jamaica. He thinks it's some malevolence of the Caucasian and the dominant society just got together and said, oh, welcome over. That's not what happened. It's not what happened at all. So for him to make that analogy, not only is it disrespectful to our people, but it shows you how ignorant he is as a professor. I would be careful what you learn from him. I would be careful what you learn from him. And I'll give you a little something to kind of feed yourself on. Take this into account. They like to say, "Oh well, nobody was a slave. You weren't a slave, or you guys didn't endure slavery now. So why do you want reparations?" Well, let's be intelligent, okay? What came about from slavery? Slavery was the benefit to the dominant society of unearned income. They got unearned benefits and income from our slavery. Okay? So I'll give you something to chew on. Let's say you have $40,000 and somebody steals your $40,000. Okay? They didn't earn the 40,000, they stole it. And then they multiplied the 40. They bought a house. The house grew in equity. They bought a car. They got little collectibles. So now their 40,000 is worth 100,000. Okay, and then they take their 100,000 and they die. So their 100,000 doesn't disappear because they die. They leave that 100,000 to their child. And now their child does the same thing. Now he has your 100,000 and he multiplies. Now his property's going up. Now his house is worth 400,000 and he's got his money's multiplying. Now he's got stocks and bonds. His money's multiplying. His money's multiplying and then he dies. And then he dies. And that money multiplies again. He dies, and then that money multiplies again. And then he dies, and that money multiplies again. And that money just keeps going on and on. But they didn't enslave you. Those people didn't rob you, but they took your money and they flipped your money and they flipped your money. And your money kept flipping and flipping and flipping. And now that money that they stole from you is now billions and billions and billions of dollars. And now you find out they took your money. Do you go, oh, well, since he didn't steal my money and I'm broke, but he didn't steal my money, so I guess he don't owe me money? Nah, no, that's not intelligent. Even if you ain't broke, you still want your money. It's still your money, isn't it? Your money. Their whole empire was built off of our labor. The whole kit and caboodle. We were the first stock on Wall Street. The whole kit and caboodle was built off of us. And it never ceases to amaze me that whenever we have these they say, oh, we're going to have a study. That is the shampoo. They're trying to give you the sham and leave you with the poo. What they're going to do is they're going to put a little commission together and they're going to put people on there who think like this guy. These are the guys that they'll put on the commission that's going to have the study. The people who have this kind of mindset. The Sheila Jackson Lees. Okay? Sheila Jackson Lee was not a foundational Black American. She had no business being in charge of no congressional meeting on reparations because she wasn't included in it. She would not be included in reparations. She's not from here. So why are they having people that aren't us speaking on our behalf? Does that make any sense? Do they do that to anybody else? Does that make any sense? If you're going to have laws written or some sort of congressional movement for an Irish person, do you put all Germans on there? Do you not hear from the Irish? That's what they keep doing to us. They keep finding people like this who would not be entitled to reparations because he's not from here. And it's very easy now. This is why we are delineating. This is what the foundational Black Americans are all about. This is what FBA literally stands for, Foundational Black Americans. It is the people who built this country. We can trace our lineage back. We know we were here. We are the ones that built this country, not these immigrants that got here in the 50s and 60s, even the 20s. They didn't do nothing. They didn't help build anything. The country was already here. That's why they're called immigrants. They came here. There was something for them to come to. You get it? So we built it. We are the foundation. They immigrated here to what we were already doing. We were already here. You understand? I want you guys to understand the difference in this. These skin folk are very, very dangerous. They're very dangerous because they usually get elevated into positions of power. This guy teaches philosophy at a college. He's teaching our youth. He's sitting in front of our children talking this nonsense. Oh, there's no racism. It's so easy to see the racism. It's not as blatant as hoods in your face, but if you have any kind of common sense, you can see it. And it's across all spectrums. It's across all spectrums. This is called the system of white supremacy. It is what we are now being oppressed under. It is very subtle, but it's very prevalent. It's the differences. It's the subtle differences. But there is a difference. And that difference causes inequality. Do you understand that? It's a law that's written, but it's interpreted different ways per group. How is that equal? The law should be the law. There should be no provisions, but they make provisions. And I'll give you an example, an older example. let's use the worst. Let's use the worst. Let's use the downtrodden. Let's say the drug dealers. Let's say the gangsters and drug dealers. Let's look at the first gangsters and drug dealers. Let's look at Bugsy Malone. Let's look at Al Capone. Let's look at what's another famous Caucasian drug dealing gangster? Um, John Gotti. Let's use John Gotti. When these guys were caught by the feds, what happened to their money? We know that the money was the money comprised of ill-gotten gains from illegal means. They built fortunes. This is well documented and it's well known. What happened to their money? Was it confiscated? Were those bank accounts confiscated? No, they were not. If you look up John Gotti's family right now, they have mansions. If you look up Al Capone's family right now, they have houses and homes. Their money was not seized. Okay? Their assets were not seized. Now let's flip the coin and look at what happened to the black drug dealers, the famous black drug dealers, shall we? Let's look at Freeway Ricky Ross. What happened to all that money Freeway made? It was confiscated. It was confiscated. What happened to all his belongings? When he came out of prison, he didn't have a thing. Not even his name. Somebody had stolen his name. Do you see the difference? The same laws. It's the same laws, but applied differently. Do you see? Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Come on, my people. We have to stop falling for the same old okie doke. It's time out for the nonsense. I'm not trying to tell you that we should be hateful towards people. This is not a channel of hate. But what I am trying to tell you is there's nothing wrong with you realizing when you are being ran a scam on. There's nothing wrong with you not allowing people to take advantage of you. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with us taking pride in ourselves, letting people know who we are. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? Definitely. Skinfolk. Tunes coming out soon. Song to drop soon. Video coming soon. A lot coming down the line. I am your brother, Lord Eric Steele. I'm going to keep bringing this truth. I'm going to keep shining the light on these people when they come to my attention. The emails, I appreciate you guys pointing it out, letting me know. I ain't even going to let you know the student of his that brought his nonsense to my attention, but we did see him in the video with Jesse Lee Peterson, who was a known. This guy is the stories behind him are never ending. But again, I'm your boy Lord Eric Steele. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. FBA all day. It's your boy out.